Hi there, my name is Marcel Viera and welcome to How to Be a Great Teacher. This is the first video and it's an introduction into having an understanding of what it is to be a great teacher, what it is to be a fantastic teacher. And I want to differentiate this between being a teacher who comes in and does the job satisfactorily well. They meet all the compliance needs, they do all the things that are supposed to do, they do all the things that are expected of them. But above and beyond that, there is a category of teachers that are just exceptional. There are some that really truly inspire. There are some that when they turn up, there is something that's different about them to, say, all the other teachers. And this is very evident for our students. Our students are able to pick up from within us which ones are here because we're waiting for 3 o'clock or 3:30 for the bell to ring so we can go home, and the ones that are here because we truly feel fulfilled in our role as a teacher. So this video series is all about understanding how to be a great teacher. What are the differences? It's about uncovering the things that you can do to really lift your own satisfaction in your job so that it's not just a job, it turns into something that you really feel fulfilled in doing. It's something that really creates happiness within you. It becomes one of your vehicles that meets all of your needs in a really resourceful and sustainable way. So what I'll be doing through this video series is talking about a few various aspects and a few things that really make a difference in terms of what it is to be really great at your job. So the first thing is, let's have a look at why this is important. Why is it so important for teachers to be great in their job? And fundamentally, I've already mentioned that there's nothing wrong with you being a teacher who turns up and basically does the minimum requirement. You can come in and just do your lessons and make sure that you've ticked off the correct boxes and so on, and there's nothing wrong with that. And this video series isn't aimed at teachers that want to be simply compliant or want to simply get to the end of the day. This is aimed at teachers that want to be truly happy and truly fulfilled in the work that they do day to day as a teacher. So it's important because it gives an avenue for you to reach happiness. It gives you an avenue for you to be challenged and for you to try different things and take on risks that perhaps you might not otherwise want to. And it goes beyond our own personal needs because this is also how to get the best out of our students. You see, most teachers will say that they want their students to be a bunch of things. Like, for example, we're having a recent discussion, and one of the things that came up is that teachers are saying we want them to be more independent or interdependent learners, where they can work by themselves, but also they help each other to succeed collectively. We want our students to be more engaged in class. We want them to take responsibility for their learning. And in fact, we've recently finished reports, and one of the things that comes up is, hey, this student needs to be more responsible. Something that comes up quite a bit as well is that we want our students to value their time at school so they don't turn up and are just wasting their time away, that they really utilize their time to the best of their ability. We want students, really importantly, to achieve their personal best. If ultimately all you ever do as a student is that you achieve your personal best, think of all the different things that are going to benefit from that. Because it'll mean that you achieve your personal best in your work, in whatever career you choose, in your relationships. There are so many benefits to consistently achieving your best. We say that our students we want them to be able to accept and in fact desire feedback because that's a way that they can grow. So we have cases where students avoid getting the feedback that they need to learn because it's something that they need to act upon, or it might mean that it's challenging for them and they don't want the challenge. So how do we get our students to accept and desire feedback as a way of growing? And further to that, we want our students to continually develop and grow. So it's not like they learn something and they get to the end of the exam and that's it, they tick it off and it's all over. We want our students to be able to understand that coming to school and going on a learning process is a process that continues on, not just when you finish year 12, but also beyond. So if these are some of the things that teachers are saying that they want the students to be able to do, what if one of the biggest variables in all of this is that all of these things start with us as a teacher? I had a university professor once that told me that if ever my lessons weren't going great or if my students weren't engaged, the first thing that I need to look at is myself. I need to look at the things that I'm doing to cause that student to not be engaged. Or what are the things that I'm doing to cause that student to not be disinterested? And given that there are some students that may well come into your class that are just not interested in the subject whatsoever, there are still a lot of things that we can do to keep that student interested, engaged, and motivated, even if it's not their favorite subject. To do that, though, we need to take an understanding that all of this starts with us as teachers. We need to come from an angle that the results that we're getting from our students and the atmosphere that we create in our classroom is very much dependent on us. Yes, of course, the students influence the feeling that is created in the classroom, but even more so, it is about what we foster in our classroom. So it very much starts with us. And it starts with us for a bunch of reasons. Here are some questions to consider. How can you expect your students to challenge themselves when we don't challenge ourselves as teachers? As a generalization, we can sometimes be very safe in our roles. We've taught the same thing over and over again. We don't really make any changes. It's kind of achieved the results that we want. So the question is, why bother changing? And if we're not prepared to change, and if we're not prepared to challenge ourselves because it makes us feel uncomfortable, how can we expect our students, how can that truly be what we ask our students to do of themselves if we're not prepared to do it ourselves? How can we expect our students to take risks in the classroom? How can we get them to try different things if we're not taking risks as teachers ourselves? Some of the best lessons that we've done are the ones that just blow up and everything goes wrong because the students get to see us making mistakes consistently and they look at us and go, wow, if it's okay for the teacher to make a mistake, surely it's okay for me to make a mistake and try something as well. How can we accept our students to how can we expect our students to accept constructive feedback if we don't put ourselves as teachers consistently in a position where we're getting constructive feedback from our peers, from our students, and from the greater community? Surely if we want our students to learn through accepting feedback, then we need to walk the walk as well and be able to show them that it's okay for us to receive feedback and we don't get defensive about it. So my belief is that as teachers, if we start with the things that we can change, which is ourselves and our perception of our classroom and our attitude and what we foster and what we accept and what we don't accept within ourselves, surely that's going to have a flow-on effect to the students that we are teaching. So this video series is a series of a whole stack of little modules, and I think I've got about 7 of them. This is the first one, the introduction. The next one will be on why you need to be your best. So you don't need to be your best. This is purely a choice. And again, as I mentioned, it's not going to cater to some staff members. If you're happy to play it safe, if you're happy to not change anything, so be it. But this is very much for the students, as the title is, how to be a great teacher. You know, what are the differences? So our second video, and this is going to be about why be your best. The third video is going to look at our comfort zones and how we can expand our comfort zones and the problem with staying safe as opposed to the opportunities that come from when we grow. We're going to look at universal fears because one of the things that happens a lot with teachers is that we stop ourselves from doing things because of some universal fears that we all have because we're human. Interestingly enough, they're the same fears that our students have. We'll be looking at how to be happy and fulfilled. Do you know that we spend about a third of our life in our job? If you think about it, we arrive at, say, 8-ish in the morning, 8:30. We leave at about 3:30. That's like 7 or 8 hours or whatever it works out to be. That's a significant portion of our lives. And for so many of us, we go home, we've only got a few hours left before we get back into bed and we start the whole process again. So the question is, do you want to come and simply wait for the bell to go so you can start your life? Or do you want to accept that being in your job is a significant part of your life? And if that's the case, how can you get to a point where you are happy and fulfilled in the work that you do? The 6th video is going to be, what can you do that's going to create excitement, energy, and motivation for you to turn up to work in the first place? What projects can you take on? What can you do that's different that gets you really excited? And then the final video is going to be about moving forward. What can you do once you've achieved that point and how do you get to that? And I'm very confident, and I trust that you can see that if you apply these 7 areas, or these 5 or 6 areas, I should say, what is likely to happen is that the end result is that you're going to understand what you need to do to become not just a good teacher, but a great teacher. Come back and watch the second video. Thanks.